The MCU is here to save us from the white man. What's up, everyone? Jared from Patriots and Pop Culture here, and if one video a week about the MCU isn't enough, well, I got some news for you. Marvel went full woke. Check this out. This is an article from Rolling Stone with MCU President Kevin Feige talking about WandaVision and the possibility of having Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange appear in the last episode, which would have made sense considering the fact that WandaVision was supposed to lead directly into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But that's not what we got. WandaVision, unfortunately, did not lead into anything except for Captain Marvel 2, which is now called The Marvels, with the story that they had with Monica Rambeau. So the article says, the story of WandaVision's main character, Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, is set to continue in 2022's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But the two projects were almost linked much more directly, as Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige reveals in Rolling Stone's upcoming extensive oral history of WandaVision. Marvel struck a deal with Benedict Cumberbatch to appear in the final episode of the show as Doctor Strange, but late in the process, they wrote him out. Kevin Feige goes on to say, some people might say, oh, it would have been so cool to see Doctor Strange, but it would have taken away from Wanda, which is what we did not want to do. Honestly, he should have just left it there. But he kept going, and he let the quiet part slip out. We didn't want to end the show to be commoditized to go to the next movie. Here's the white guy, let me show you how power works. That meant the Doctor Strange movie, too, had to be rewritten. In the end, Feige says, Marvel's process is a wonderful combination of very dedicated coordination and chaos. Chaos magic. At one point, back when Doctor Strange was supposed to be part of the story, the in-universe commercials were going to be messages from Strange to Wanda. And there was also talk of having Cumberbatch appear in one of the ads. So instead of doing a story that would actually make sense, the most powerful sorcerer in the MCU, Doctor Strange, making an appearance to lead into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which Scarlet Witch is going to be co-starring in, they decided to rewrite it and take him out of it because they didn't want the white guy being a hero. This is the direction that the MCU is going into. Full-on woke. There's nothing wrong with having the white guy be the hero, especially whenever you have a bunch of really cool white guy characters. It's not that big of a deal. But according to the MCU, everybody has to be now a female or a person of color, or else it becomes problematic for the audience. What they fail to realize is the problematic part is what they're doing. Because Twitter, like I've said numerous times, is not the real world, and you need to stop taking cues from these idiots on Twitter. They do not buy your product. They probably bootleg it anyway. So why are you trying to appease them? They're not the ones supporting you. We are. And at this point, you're about to start alienating a bunch of fans. But if you thought just one woke story for today was not enough, we have some news on the Anthony Mackie, the new Captain America, talking about the entire show was meant to create a conversation about race in America. Talking about the story itself, Mackie says, it poses questions. Now you have white kids who will look up to a black Captain America. I have 4 little black boys, and now they're also going to have a conversation with their white, Asian, and Latino friends. That's the most important. When you take the familiar and spin it on its head, what do those conversations look like? Race informs every arc, whether it's referenced via the indignity of Wilson getting pulled over by police for walking while black, or through the struggle of Isaiah Bradley, a World War II era super soldier whose story directly parallels that of the Tuskegee syphilis study and the U.S. government's history of experimenting on black bodies. Bradley represents the abuses of the past, but it's through Wilson that the complexities of being a black man in 2021 are illustrated. Burdened with the understanding that his position as Captain America will be objectionable to those more comfortable with his blonde, blue-eyed predecessor, The character debates becoming the symbolic representation of a nation where people of color remain targets. The relationship between America and African American men is a very tumultuous, abusive relationship, says Mackey. It's something that needs to be rectified and healed. So the idea of Sam being Captain America recognizes all of the hardships and things that black men and women have gone through in this country. Still, it's also about the future and what we can look forward to for our kids to experience in this country. It's been an emotional experience, especially in the time in which we live in now. For Marvel to give me the opportunity as a black man from the South to become Captain America, I think says a lot. Not only about the work that I've put in to get to this point, that they would entrust me with that, but with the way they're hoping to change the way society looks at itself. Anthony Mackie, the fact that you have become Captain America has absolutely nothing to do with your work ethic, with your popularity around the water cooler at work, with your personality, with your box office numbers, nothing. You are Captain America now because you check a box on their woke list of virtue signaling and nothing more. Whenever they made Sam Wilson Captain America in the comics, it did not work. It was a failed comic book run. And it had absolutely nothing to do with Sam Wilson being a black man. It had everything to do with Captain America not being Steve Rogers. Because whenever they did the same thing with Bucky a long time ago, fans didn't like that either. Because Bucky, despite the fact that he's also a super soldier, is not Steve Rogers. Therefore, he is not Captain America. It's what Steve Rogers stands for that makes him Captain America. You combine that with the fact that he's a super soldier, and that's what you get. One of the most iconic characters that Marvel has ever produced, especially nowadays with the MCU's popularity. Most of the Avengers 15, 20 years ago were B-tier characters. They were not the A-listers. They were not anywhere near close to what the Justice League was when it came to comic books. The MCU changed that. Iron Man is just as popular as anybody else in comic book lore now. Captain America is just as famous and just as popular as anybody else in comic book history as of right now because of what the MCU did. And the fact that they are going to just let somebody else take up the Captain America mantle says that your character, or at least in their eyes, Falcon, was not good enough to stand on his own, despite the fact that he's been around since 1969. 5 decades of Falcon wasn't good enough for him to stand on his own in the eyes of Disney and the MCU. And if Kevin Feige was also in charge of this, well then Kevin Feige's a little cuck as well. Why does every single sentence in there have to be revolved around race? As a black man in America and all the hard times. Do you know why you've had hard times as a black man in America? Because of the idiots you vote for. All of you who claim to be so woke and so virtuous, you still vote for the party of slavery. And you don't even realize it. You keep pushing Democrat candidates thinking that that's going to be the answer. How's California doing right now? Go ask Gavin Newsom. How many millions of people have they lost since last year because of the lockdowns? They're authoritarians. And you are complicit in everything that they are doing by promoting them and lifting them up. And not talking to the other people on the other side of the table, like Gina Carano, who got shunned from the same company, Disney. Granted, it was Lucasfilm, but it's still Disney, got shunned for having conservative views. You can say whatever you want and get away with it. People on the other side of the aisle reach out to try to have a conversation, and you throw rocks at them. It has nothing to do with hardships about being a black man in America. Not anymore. We had a black president for 8 years. In the 80s, the most popular musician was Michael Jackson. The most popular actor was Eddie Murphy. Thank you, Nerdrotic, for that. And the most popular athlete of all time is Michael Jordan. People looked up to these men as gods. Yet somehow they're oppressed. Michael Jackson grew up in the 60s. He saw some civil rights shit. Michael Jordan was born in 1963, right towards the tail end of the Civil Rights Act. He saw some stuff. His dad saw some stuff. They persevered. So why does everything have to be about race? Why does everything have to be about identity politics? It's getting pretty pathetic when every single thing in our entertainment has to be based around gender and race and sexuality. Just tell good stories. How hard is it to tell good stories? Apparently it's very hard because most of Hollywood hasn't been able to tell a good story in about 5 years. And that's pretty pathetic. I'm done ranting. Go ahead and leave a comment on this. Tell me what you think about it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you do, why do you disagree? Let's have a conversation about this. Make sure to like the video. If you didn't like it, hit dislike. I don't care. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. And hit the bell to get notifications. And we'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as my kid says,
click on bell
to get notifications for upcoming videos.